Some sad news to bring you this morning on the eve of Christmas Eve. We're just hearing, and Fulham Football Club have just put out a statement on this, that everybody at Fulham Football Club is deeply saddened to learn of the passing of one of our greatest ever players and a greatest ever gentleman, George Cohen, MBE. George Cohen, of course, World Cup winner with England, played in that team on the day they beat West Germany at Wembley on 1966. In 1966, England won the World Cup, of course, and George Cohen was part of that starting 11 for England. George Cohen has died, I'm afraid. George Cohen, aged 83. George was had become somewhat of a regular on our show,
he was,
Simon.
Yeah. And his wife.
His lovely wife. They were more than happy to join us and reminisce about George's great England memories and the memories he shared with those wonderful teammates that he had, the likes of Bobby Moore, Sir Geoff Hurst, of course, who's still with us, I'm delighted to say, and others, the late Gordon Banks. George Cohen has died at the age of 83. It's desperately sad news, Simon.
Very much so. And I was watching the Bobby Moore documentary last night, I was just saying to Carlton, and George Cohen featured in that quite prominently. So it's one of those, isn't it? These 66 heroes that we've got. George came on a few times and spoke about the passing of Martin Peters, spoke about the passing of Jimmy Greaves as well, I think. And these are players, when you look back on, I don't think we know or recall how good and what they achieved for this country. And given the fact it's been 56 years since we've achieved anything vaguely resembling it, or haven't as yet, these boys, they got their just rewards by winning a World Cup. They got their recognition over the years in society and by gongs and so on and so forth. But George Cohen was a lovely man, and if you listen to that documentary that I watched yesterday, which by the way was a brilliant documentary, George, you can see what kind of man he was, the way he spoke about Bobby Moore.
Yes. You played for a variety of clubs, Carlton, of course. You had a great career yourself, 600 plus games. George Cohen had many appearances for Fulham, 459 or so. Maybe just a few more than that. A figure surpassed only by 5 other players in Fulham's history. He was a one-club man, and Fulham meant so much to him, and he meant so much to Fulham. Can you imagine the pride that Fulham had in having a World Cup winner in their ranks, Carlton?
Yeah, like Simon says, I mean, those band that won that 66 World Cup, they'll forever go down in history. I mean, Nobby Stiles was one of those, and Nobby Stiles was my mentor at West Brom. He took me under his wing, and I wouldn't have gone on to do as well as what I did in the game if it wasn't for the tutorage of Nobby Stiles. I did a dinner recently with Sir Geoff, and they are really humble guys, and they talk very well of each other. So it's sad to see another one of them gone, but they'll never be forgotten.
It is so sad this morning. George Cohen, many people getting in touch. Here's Harry and Barnes here in London. Jim, it was a shame about George. I so got to like him, and so many other people saying that this morning. When he used to come on your show, he spoke with such clarity and such dignity. He was a very dignified man, Simon. I always thought that when George came on, he would never say anything that was going to be critical of anyone. He would come on and give it a very fair reading of everything when he joined us.
I think they all were. And it's a generation of footballer that's no longer here, and that's not criticising the current ones. It's just the time and the society that we now live in. And they were all very mindful of the achievements that they had brought to this country, and all very respectful of one another. And it was a unique moment. When you look, again, going back to the documentary I watched yesterday, I sat there having been a student of this 66 World Cup team, watching it and paying attention to it, and, remembering the famous commentary from Kenneth Wolstenholme, and all of that. But, you look at it again, and when you look at it again for a documentary, you see, my word, what this country must have been like when they won that World Cup, with 100,000 fans, a young queen, a 40-year-old queen, handing them the World Cup. And these players, George Cohen and Gordon Banks and Bobby Moore and Jackie Charlton and Nobby Stiles and Alan Ball and Martin Peters and Geoff Hurst and whoever else was in the team that we can come off the top of our head, they were legends, because that's the real title that should be given to people that have achieved the kind of things they achieved at that particular time. So he'll be sadly missed.
It's so sad when you look at it now, Carlton. I think out of that 11 on the day that beat West Germany, I think we only have 2 survivors now, because the others, Banks, Stiles, Moore, Wilson, Jack Charlton, Alan Ball, Roger Hunt, Martin Peters, sadly have all gone. Bobby Charlton is still with us, delighted to say, and Sir Geoff Hurst is still with us. It must be tough for Sir Geoff this morning that another of his great colleagues on that memorable day has now gone.
Yeah, and they were all very close. I remember speaking to Jeff. As I said, I did a dinner with him a few weeks ago, and we were talking, about Nobby Stiles, as he had a lot to do with my earlier career at West Brom before I moved on.
Did he?
Yeah. Well, he came into the club and he was the one who took me under his wing, and I don't know whether it was because Nobby was really. He didn't really look like a footballer, did he? And he did a very effective job for England, sitting in front of the back four. And I was kind of similar, so he kind of took a shine to me and worked with me tirelessly to learn the heart of defending properly. So it is sad to see. I mean, when you look at Sir Jeff, I mean, like I said at dinner, he looked like he was 60 years old, Sir Jeff. He looks after himself, still gets out training and has a really good diet. But unfortunately, we all get older and there has to be a passing.
Absolutely.
talkSPORT Breakfast, waking you up Monday to Friday morning from 6 a.m. on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.